Good evening, everyone. My name is Prashant. I'm the National Sales Head for Taurus, and a very warm welcome to our esteemed mutual fund distributors. On behalf of Taurus AMC, it is a privilege to engage with such a distinguished group of advisors who play a pivotal role in shaping investors' journey. Today's session is centered around the evolving opportunities in the mid cap segment and how we can position them effectively within client portfolios. I am pleased to introduce our fund manager, Mr. Himanshu Srivastav, whose insights and expertise will add significant value to our discussion on the Taurus Mid Cap Fund. We look forward to a meaningful and engaging interaction that supports both client outcome and your business growth. So over to you, Himanshu.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Namaste. So I'll start with a brief introduction about the strategy that we have at Taurus, how we work around with the mutual fund. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
My presentation, right?
Yes. It is.
Yes, great. So I'll start with the basic thought process. What exactly are mid caps? How SEBI and AMFI define the mid cap category, who it is suitable for, and then we can start with how the investing approach and what portfolio construction and what is the thought process behind the Taurus Mutual Fund mid cap scheme. So I'll start with it. So this is a patient capital. It has to be a sustainable growth for the mutual fund, the whole mid cap selection. So basically, mid caps, what mid caps are, why do we invest in mid caps, and whom is this mid cap as a scheme suitable for? So I'll start with that. So what SEBI and AMFI defines as mid cap is that the top 100 companies in the country, they are actually classified as the large caps. The next 150 companies are classified as the mid cap. So in that, you have a range from 34,750 odd crores of market cap to 1,05,000 crores of market cap. So the companies, the top 150 companies who actually classify or come in this scheme, they are the 150 who have a market cap from 35 odd to 1,05,000 odd crores market cap. Then the small cap I've taken over here is this 2,600 is basically because we have just filtered the companies with market cap less than 100 crores from the picture. So these are the companies who have, this is how SEBI and AMFI define the criteria. So this is based on the December holding that was released. So this is what mid caps are. Why should one look for investment in a mid cap? So mid cap is basically suitable for investors who are seeking an exposure and creating a diversified asset classes. This is very much appropriate for those investors who are looking for a moderate risk appetite, because mid caps are companies who are not in the early growth phase, but they are in a matured growth phase kind of a period. Not like large caps who are on a very sustainable trend, but they are on a growth sustainability kind of a growth curve. So the mid caps enhances the portfolio's return, and also they manage the market's volatility, because small caps becomes extremely volatile during market stresses. On the contrary, mid caps are very, very stable and they have stable return in volatile kind of a picture or a volatility over a period of 5 years. And these kind of schemes are actually in for investors who are looking for a horizon of 5 years. So why should one look at this? So firstly, mid caps are relatively under researched. They're not like large caps are completely covered in very much research, well researched. Mid caps are relatively less research as compared to large caps, and small caps are not much research. Then you have an access to emerging leaders. So you have companies who from mid cap will transition to the large cap kind of a space. So you transition from that, and these are what the mid cap categories are. They offer a very long and sustainable growth runway because they're scaling up the business and scaling up the business models. They've historically, these companies have delivered very strong alpha, and they have managed the risk over elongated market cycles. Plus, they give you a very balanced kind of a risk reward portfolio as compared to a risk reward portfolio for a small cap, which is very risky. Mid caps have a very balanced portfolio. So now I'll come down to how our investment philosophy is, what the framework is, and how we look at the stock selection. So our investing framework is basically a non-dogmatic approach where we have a contrarian bias. So over here, we look at companies not from what the market standpoints are. We look at a company, how and well the company is entrenched, what are the modes of a particular business, how sustainable the business model is, and how the companies are growing ahead, what kind of strategies have been deployed by the company to grow and enhance. So this is what we look at. Then we look at growth investing. This is where 20 to 25% of our portfolio is always being deployed, where we look at companies who have just entered at that inflection point. So this is the thought process is got what we call growth at a reasonable price. So we look at companies who who are at an inflection point, कंपनीज जिसका नया कैपेक्स आ रहा है, जिसका ग्रोथ अपॉर्चुनिटीज इंप्रूव कर रही हैं, जो मार्केट में एनहांस कर रहे हैं अपने प्रोडक्ट की डेप्थ को, ब्रेथ को, who are looking at entering new geographies. These are the companies where we invest. So this is how our portfolio generally all across the schemes are. Then we have a small portion which is tactical and quarterly plays. Like tactical could be like a better result expectation in the next quarter. There could be a lot of momentum in those stocks. So this is where we keep a very small those stocks. And then we keep a very simple long tail positions, which are first like a foot in the door strategy for us, जिसके अंदर हम लोग research करते हैं कि companies के अंदर we meet the companies, we visit the plant, we get a better understanding of on ground how the companies are working and how. So this is where we build up positions. So this is our investment framework. So our investment framework is very simple. We have a particular methodology what we call profit. So this is where it's a probabilistic outcome. So we try to give a lot of probability कि क्या scenarios होंगे, कितना bull scenario हो सकता है, एक base case क्या हो सकता है company की growth का, उसकी profitability का, उसका returns का, and this is how we build our particular models. This is like the probabilities. Then we work on a non-reflexive. We are very not non-reflexive. I'm sorry. We are very reflexive. We are very self-aware that कुछ companies maybe not be able to deliver those numbers. So we are very reflexive on a thought process ki how we switch from stocks. Then we focus on opportunities, like where the opportunity lies. What are the thought process? कहाँ पे कैसी opportunities arise कर रही हैं? Market में distress scenarios किस में हैं? किस में opportunities enable हो रही हैं? किस में government की support आ रही है? Like those kind of things. Then we're looking at a very innovative kind of a mindset. We have developed our own mental models, and we have our further models like Cosmic and LVMS, which we deploy internally. So we have been building these models for almost 3-4 years, and we are trying to revamp them. Continuously इसमें हम काफी काम कर रहे हैं ताकि इसको पूरा अपने approach को more refine करें. So this is the stock selection, the models that I'm talking. So we have two particular models after this. One is a long-term LVMS, which we look at stocks from a long-term point of view, who can create value, and those businesses who have moat in this segment, and they can actually sustainably grow their earnings. So हम लोग generally quarterly earnings पे इतना focus नहीं करते हैं. We do focus, but quarterly earnings पे हम लोग थोड़ा back रखते हैं. First we look at कि can these companies actually deliver 2 to 5 years kind of a growth. Only then it makes sense for us to invest. एक दो क्वार्टर की नॉर्मलाइज जो अर्निंग्स होती है, जैसे आपके नॉर्मलाइज अर्निंग्स पे हम फोकस करते हैं रादर देन जस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी जो माइल्डली अराइज करी और उस पर आपने कैप्चर किया. सो दीज आर समथिंग जो हम टैक्टिकल बेट्स में खेलते हैं, वेरी स्मॉल. द लार्जर पोर्शन ऑफ द फंड इज ऑलवेज डिप्लॉयड, जिसके अंदर भी लुक एट लॉन्ग टर्म वैल्यू क्रिएशन फॉर द कंपनीज. सो उसके अंदर भी स्टडी द कॉम्पिटिशन फ्रेमवर्क, how the competition is, इनकी industry structure कैसा है, who are the major players in the market, how the industry barriers are there, like what are the barriers to entry, are the moats really defined and strong, can the moats be destroyed by a few entrants, like AI can actually destroy a lot of moat. So we study on those. Then we conduct our quality checks. So quality checks are where we go and visit the management, we interact with the management's employees, and we also visit the plants. Like manufacturing ke andar, we go and we meet the plants, we visit the whole plants. This is how we do our quality checks and our analysis. So now I'll start with the mid cap fund. So this is the strategic blueprint, what we have defined for a mid cap fund. So I'll talk about the portfolio construction. So initially 1.5 years back when I joined, so we had a very different philosophy. We had a very, very highly diversified fund. We had a small mid cap fund which had almost 65 to 70 stocks. So हम लोगों ने इसको पूरा strategy को change किया है, and we are still revamping these strategies and moderately हम लोग थोड़ा इसमें changes लाते रहते continuously. So one of the things is कि आप mid cap के अंदर पहले initially we used to have around top 10 stocks, just 20-25% concentration पे. So this kind of a over diversification एक mid cap के अंदर आपके returns बहुत dilute करता है. So we have changed that. Now our top 10 stocks, the plan is to, or the goal is कि वो 45 to 50% concentration should be in the top 10 stocks that we have. So these are the stocks जिसमें हमें सबसे ज़्यादा high conviction होती है, where we have done our research, we have done our ground checks. This is how we build a stock. The second thought process is कि हम लोग अपने stocks जो portfolio है from 70 kind of stocks, we have brought it down to now 37. 36, 37 is the stock framework, and we need to keep it to 35 level only. The portfolio positioning will be the top 10 would be the top 15 actually would be very long-term kind of stocks where we want to keep them very for a longer time. The second would be a tactical positioning of 10 stocks. So these 10 stocks would be जो हम quarterly play पे खेलेंगे, maybe 2-3 quarters down the line, how we think that इनकी earnings कितनी improve कर सकती हैं. This is how we'll build up. Then we'll take a very small long tail. Initially हमारा long tail बहुत बड़ा था. Long tail हो गया जिसमें हमारे पास बहुत छोटे छोटे stocks हैं,
Friday.
0.5% के,
After that, to work
0.3% के. तो वो long tail हम
Everything
remove
goes
करना
on
चाहते हैं अपने
Monday.
segment से.
and after
So
22 new
hello.
Yeah,
So
Himanshu, you can continue. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thank you. So now the long tail is where we'll keep very limited stocks in the long tail, and we'll keep our cash at a consistent level of 4 to 5, depending on the market scenarios. Like abhi jo market mein scenario tha with the war and everything, we actually increased from the 4-5 level to almost 12 to 14%. So that was a different call. But हाँ, हम लोग market scenarios को देख के इतना रखेंगे, but this is what the general position and thought process is कि हम 4 से 5% cash रखेंगे, बाकी 95 to 96% would always be deployed, and this is how we'll go. So initially, let's assume before the war, markets were not very volatile. Markets were volatile, but markets में volatility was not very high. आपके markets में इतना ज़्यादा churn नहीं था, but in the war, the churn has actually increased. So to manage the portfolio returns better, our now thought process is, because I personally don't churn the portfolio very much, very large degree, but now we actually want to increase that churn because to manage the volatility risk in the market. So this is the portfolio weight. So if you look, this is the weight from Nifty 150 mid cap index. So our financial services are actually underweight. We are underweight on a major sense of the financial services segment. In the chemical sector, we are actually very overweight because we are now finding the right value in the chemical sector. We are finding the risk reward ratio matrix to be very, very sustainable. Abhi acha lag raha hai, healthy lag raha hai. All the pain in the sector is already there. So this is why we are overweight on the chemical sector. Even in the cap good sector, we have increased our exposure. Cap good ki valuations were very expensive, but over the past 2-3 months, we have started increasing that exposure. We are very optimistic on the cap good sector. The same goes with IT. We are overweight on IT. So despite the AI trade that actually hurt everyone in the industry, we are now building up a very strong position in the IT stocks. So in the major contrarian call over here would be we don't have any metals or reality positions as compared to our peers. So our understanding is that we believe that the metal sector is almost at a 20-year those decadal 20-year high. They're trading at those higher valuations. The Dixie index, the USD Dixie index is actually trading also above 100 now. It's almost touching that. So we don't believe the valuations to be very sustainable, very much sustainable at this point for the metals. That is why हमने metal में or realty, the real estate sector, we have actually kept extremely no exposure in these particular stocks. We have increased, we have almost in tandem in our healthcare, in FMCG segment, in almost other segments, we are almost in line with the market or the index. Mostly we are underweight in the financial, the reality and the metal index, and overweight on the chemical and IT. So now I'll come to the major things. So Taurus has a mid cap scheme. We have not performed at all over the past very long time. So before I joined in 2023, we were actually Taurus versus the index. So I've actually made it into 3 segments. The first segment में है July 1st, July 23 से July 24. So उसमें हम लोग 16% benchmark से पीछे थे. हमारे returns were completely decimated. हमने पिछले from July से October 25 में we have actually done pretty decent enough. हमने benchmark के अंदर काफी अपने returns recover करे, हमने category से भी better perform किया है उस period के अंदर. Now from November to March हमारे returns काफी deteriorate हुए. So the reason for that is very simple. हम लोग IT के अंदर overweight थे. So as Vladimir Lenin once said कि आपके there are decades where nothing happens, but there are sometimes weeks where decades happen. So the major thing that I want to say is कि आपका पिछले 3-4 महीने में you had an AI bubble, not a bubble, sorry, the AI trade that hit all the IT stocks. आपके IT index was down almost 20-25% from those levels. So AI trade took us by surprise. It actually hurt us in our earnings. The energy sector also gave us a very big shock because of the Iran war. So these two particularly sectors have actually deteriorated our earnings. And we are not mincing our word. This is what actually hit us. Or iske andar, we never had any metals. We did not have that much higher of a cash position. So हमारे returns थोड़ी deteriorate किए हैं from November to March. So I've actually attached this file. So this is for a direct Taurus direct mid-cap fund. We are comparing it with the BSC 150 mid-cap index and the thematic, the mid-cap thematic. So what we are getting is that we actually started improving our performance during the period from October onwards. We actually started increasing and improving our efficiency and performances. At one particular point, हम लोग जुलाई अगर आप पीरियड से देखेंगे तो मई 2025 में वी वर एक्चुअली डूइंग बेटर देन द इंडेक्स एंड द मिड कैप कैटेगरी. The major hit that has took us is from the period of January, जहाँ पे हमें AI trade and war की वजह से impacts आए. This is where we have actually taken the biggest hit. So this is our portfolio. So this is how as portfolio evolved किया है. हमारा large cap, mid cap, small cap की positioning over the years has evolved like that. So before I joined, we had a very heavy small cap. Like mid cap के अंदर हमारे पास 30% almost small cap था and 65 just border 65 पे mid cap था. So we have changed that completely. Now our mid cap is almost touching 69 to 70% levels. Mera small cap is still very decently positioned in a small cap around 21 to 20%, but we have a larger degree of cash in our books. The top 10 holdings in the mid cap, we went from 30% odd levels to around 42% as of March. And the long tail, we had almost a long tail of around 20 stocks plus 20, 25 stocks. So we have reduced that long tail from 25 to almost just 6, 7. I think 7 have. And we will further also reduce them. So this is the Taurus, a little bit statistics for the fund. So we have delivered minus 4.5% return in this year as compared to an index of 3.3, the index returns TRI. So the reason for this has been very simple. We were heavyweight on the IT and the energy stocks. We had a lot of energy positioning. Almost 7-8% of our portfolio was energy. 9 to 10% was this IT. So this actually hurt us a lot. Our beta, we've reduced our beta exposure, which was 1.2, 1.3. We brought it down to 1. Our portfolio turnover has also been very low, on a moderately low levels. So the current thematic exposure, we are 17% in the, like I mentioned in the previous slides, we are overweight in the chemical side. We are overweight on the IT now, and we are increasing our position in the cap good space. So these are the top 10 holdings. So these are the core holdings for the fund, which we are very optimistic on. We are very positive, and we have built a position doing a ground level research and in-depth analysis for these funds. So this is the basic structure where we have compared our mid cap 150, the mid cap 150 index to our mid cap scheme. So over here we are trying to highlight कि हमारी scheme के margin profile कैसे हैं, हमारे return on capital employed कैसा है, हमारा fundamental parameters में how well or how better are we positioned than the Nifty 150 index. Okay, पूरे 150 stocks में. So not 150, we have removed the banking stocks from this particular picture. So this is how we have built our whole this matrix. So इसमें we are looking at the free cash flow margins. We are looking at how the returns are being generated, how the companies will be cash conversion ratios, operating margin profile, and how the leverage is. So this is how we are built. And on paper, when we're trying to evaluate this, we are actually have built a little bit superior to the 150 index, the scheme. Now we'll come to the question like why, what is a USP and why should one invest in Taurus fund? So I understand the fact that yes, we have not been delivered. We have not delivered over the past couple of years, but now we are actually actively trying to build on our mistakes. We are trying to build on a better fund structure, build a better scheme and a better return profile for us shareholders and our investors. So one thing that stands out is we are a very distinctive portfolio. We do not have a large overlap. The overlap between Taurus and an average any other fund would be hardly 18 to 20%. We do not have a large degree of overlap with different funds. Secondly, we are working on a strategic turnaround. We have been doing this for the past 1 year, and mostly we should be done through in this year. We should be done away with all our turnaround thought process. We would be having a very defined and a very well-defined research thought process, and that is how we want to deliver on our returns and promises. The third is we are a very client-centric and we are always accessible to everyone, to our MFDs, to our distributors, and to our like unit holders. We are always available. We are very client-centric in that sense. And lastly, we are driven by a Kaizen kind of an approach. So in Japanese, Kaizen is where we're constantly learning. We learn from our mistakes. We constantly evolve. Markets are very vibrant, very active, and no one can time and no one can like time the markets properly. So we also have to understand that our hypothesis, our probability, and our analysis also changes. So we are better trying to fine tune this particular process for us. So for us, these are the reasons why I think a person should always should consider investing in Taurus Mid Cap Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Manchu, for the insights. We are open to take any questions if there are. You can unmute and ask your questions or maybe put it in chat or Q&A. We'll be happy to answer. Okay, so there are no questions. Maybe we'll put a email to all those people who have joined in, and we'll try to you can put your queries there, and we'll try to resolve it on email. Others, we will also share our mobile numbers as well. So if somebody wants to contact us, surely we can get back to you. Anyways, thank you everybody for joining in such a short notice. We were very enlightened by Himanshu, the way that you spoke,
Thank
and
you.
it was nice. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank
We'll
you.
be seeing you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me throw some light about current.